Okay, let's get this shitty show started. So, welcome everyone. I am the one, the only angry vegan cyclist, and I welcome you to a very poorly prepared show on purely by the product of my own disorganization. We have no co-host today. I don't really have any sponsors this week. Sorry, I'm still. Oh, okay. Well, I'm working on AVC'S for the Macumba Says segment, or it could be curated content. I'm not too sure either. I've got a lot of projects on my hands right now, and as you can tell, I poorly prepared but nevertheless cobbled together show, and it looks like it's just going to be me today. So, I guess I will get started on the topics I wanted to talk about this week. So let me take the cover off. I don't have too much lined up today, but I'll try to make I'll try to make what I did find interesting for you guys. Anyway, so I think this phenomena has been happening for many years now, but only now has the news media decided to kick up a stink about it. So, question: why are incels turning themselves into girls? The rise of transmaxxing is a sign of things to come. By Mary Harrington. And I don't know what this post is. I think it might be something. Well, they're using a lot of I don't know what is the post. I don't know, but a lot of news articles are all kind of saying the same thing. And they're all just pathetically copying each other, just like car manufacturers. But anyway, so I guess I'll just get into the article Mary Harrington wrote on, I guess it was a couple months ago. Yeah, okay. So, upon this 73-page manifesto, which contains many examples of boys who have quote-unquote successfully transitioned, and like that you see in this picture here, there's a thing. So, in short, in case, I guess before I dive straight into the article, it's young men see that society is kind of treating them like shit, and of course, the same stimuli being treated like shit garners different responses from a group of people, even if you believe that they all are the same people, same organism, or of the same interest, the same genotype, phenotype, etc. So I guess this is one strategy. So if you're vying for a girlfriend, if you're vying for the company of a woman, well, they're not coming. So why not just become the girlfriend? Yeah, seems kind of brilliant. I don't know. We'll see. So the article states, a new report from Sanjana Friedman at Pirate Wires documents a phenomenon that has been a source of discussion among the extremely online for a little while, and it has now made it to the open. Quote, transmaxxing is a subculture of young men who embrace trans identities not because they believe they were born in the wrong body, but simply because they can, and because they think it will make their lives better. It is a phenomenon that reveals more nakedly than ever before the true face of the cyborg era, a culture caught between increasingly powerful technology and the collapse of any coherent narrative about how to best use it for the good into a general sense that all narratives are interchangeable. As Friedman tells it, transmaxers are strikingly post-ideological about their self-remodeling, at least compared to the official trans narrative, which draws heavily from 20th century civil rights discourse. In this view, gender identity is immutable, and trans people are just born that way. Many transmaxers, however, modify themselves not just because they want to. Examples are shown in this 73-page Transmaxxing manifesto. And by the way, go. I guess I can drop a link in the chat. Go read, or you could probably just find it just searching. Go search for the Transmaxxing manifesto. It's a pretty solid piece of literature, to say the least. Uh, some report making up stories of gender dysphoria from medical professionals, while others then self-induce general gender dysphoria by watching quote sissy hypno, a type of video where hypnotic and sometimes also pornographic stimuli are combined with messages encouraging the male viewer to embrace feminine looks or behavior. The post-ideological feel of the phenomenon is underlined further by how much such individuals shift from embracing the quote incel ideologies associated with the right to quote trans ideologies or identities associated with the left. For the most part, the contest between trans activists and their feminist opponents have been conducted on a field of gender. What is, whether it has discrete categories, or how, or whether it relates to physiology, and so on. A smaller handful of writers have drawn attention to the transhumanist implications of claiming a right to remodel one's physical body based on an unfalsifiable inner feeling. This vision sees medicine not as a restorative practice intended to return us to a shared understanding of, quote, normal, but has a potentially limitless method of upgrading, quote, normal according to personal desire and preference. This has been openly advocated for some time, as well as some trans activists, such as pharma entrepreneur Martine Rothblatt. But the debate has so far stayed largely within the pre-cyborg moral frame of equality, justice, and rights. Yet, as Friedman notes, what's striking in the Transmaxxers is the way that they are cheerfully abandoning the civil rights narrative in favor of an open, wholesale embrace of the transhumanist outlook. Many Transmaxxers report that the interventions have significantly improved their lives. Why, such individuals might ask, does anyone need a, quote, born in the wrong body story to justify something that works on its own terms? And it's here that we catch a glimpse of the real face of the cyborg era, an emerging cultural paradigm in which technology is the ideology. The opinions someone endorses while down in an internet rabbit hole matter less than the cumulative psychological impact of spending all day, every day in that rabbit hole, a condition of radical body dissociation and increasingly immeasurably real-world social isolation. Oneself is thus dissociated from body. Once the self is thus dissociated from body, there's no obvious reason to treat that, quote, meat suit as an instrument to be optimized via whether via hormones, surgery, or other interventions in pursuit of greater happiness. And again, the story matters less than the fact that you are simply doing it because you can. Okay, so this is why I love this topic, because there's so many different things going on at so many different levels. Well, just like anything, if you look anything that you look at in the news. So the bottom line here is that Dr. Maslow has pointed out with his pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So right now, incels. So right now, pretty much in Western countries, or developed countries, or wealthier parts of developing countries, most people's physiological needs are kind of met. You know, whether I think sex belongs in like the safety and love belonging section of the pyramid. But of course, everyone has their own interpretation of the Maslow's pyramid. Well, so in this case, for these quote unquote incels, this is basically taken care of, except for sex. Now, sex being love and belonging, well, clearly they're lacking. They're in a safe environment where they are not in constant danger of being harassed, attacked, or killed. And now they're moving to the love and belonging section. And for them, I mean, as crafty individuals as they must be, they finally realized they see they see what young women are experiencing. They are getting all the love and admiration from every group around them. And then they look at themselves and they see that they don't have that. So, duh. Of course, someone's going to try that. One of these incels is going to try it, and then they will be rewarded for that big step that they take in their lives. And voila. They call it transmaxing. It is an optimization, so maxing as in maximalizing, I guess. So transmaxing, they're optimizing themselves to fit in a hostile environment. They're using transgenderism as an adaptation to protect themselves in a hostile environment, or at least so they perceive. And the meanwhile continues to not only protect them as like a negation of a negative consequence, but is adding itself a positive consequence. They're able to express themselves by being girls or whatever. People start opening doors for them. They start to no longer are they under the burden of having to pursue females to impress them in order to have a chance at reproduction, but now they are the ones pursued. So reality, these incels, transmaxing incels, are once again they're fulfilling their biological needs for love, belonging, and possibly sex, reproduction, so on and so forth, by being transgender. Now, that's what's happening at the psychological level. At the biological level, this isn't really that crazy either. This isn't something totally unique to humans. In fact, earlier today, I was watching some videos about a transgenderism in animals. For example, I think parrotfish or cuttlefish or certain varieties of, I think peacocks will basically quote-unquote cross-dress by displaying different colors or delaying the growth of those flashy, colorful feathers that adult male peacocks may usually have, by maintaining a female appearance relative to their own species, is once again an adaptation to survive against a more hostile, for example, whether peacocks or cuttlefish. There's a quote unquote alpha male that will kind of run the show whenever they're during mating season or a mating event. And in order to stay under the radar, these lesser males, or quote-unquote beta males, will try to pass off as females of the species. Could that be what's going on here? Maybe. But if, as you might imagine, the chief audience that would look at this quote-unquote transmaxed individual is probably going to be heterosexual male. And I guess perhaps in a lot of cases, but not every, there's the hormonal intervention, the hormone replacement treatment will affect these incels' sexuality. And then furthermore, to further complicate, there's probably another type of, there's a change in reward circuits within these transmaxers' brains that make them no longer desire to pursue, but now desire to be pursued, which is, of course, the typical female mating strategy. So it just kind of rewards them in all aspects. Now back to anyone who has a political question about this issue. So what is going to happen to this politically? So the common response from most people is that they're confused. So on one hand, they either believe or they want to conform to the belief that, okay, well, transgender people are stunning and brave, and we should honor every single letter of the LGBT QWERTYUAOP alphabet train. And this is part of it. But at the same time, incel's bad, incel's evil. Elliot Rodger went on a mass shooting. Therefore, incel is obviously it's a derogatory term that we use to, I guess we fling onto typically men who are critical of women. So a lot of people just can't bridge the gap between this incel, this quote unquote woman hating incel, who is now becoming a woman. That just fucks with their brains. that just like opens their skulls up and just stirs their brain like some kind of soup. And people don't like that. So a lot of times, a lot of people will probably just shut their brains off and dismiss this entire thing as just craziness. And usually that, and then they get swept up by the Ben Shapiros who insist that, oh, in order to be a woman, you must have XX chromosomes and blah 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 blah. Like, Mr. Shapiro, as brilliant of a man as you are, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares about facts and logic, clearly, and these transmaxers are winning. So politically, I ask you whether regardless of how you feel about this, who loses in this situation? So we earlier, just previously, we had a problem where we have a bunch of young men who feel like they're hated. A lot of time, in a lot of senses, they are. I believe their feelings can be justified. And now they've realized, okay, well, there's too many men competing for the same pool of women, and I'm not getting my needs met, my romantic, my emotional, my social, sexual needs met. So in order to get these things met, I just realized that, I can make this compromise. Why look for a girlfriend when you can be the girlfriend? And here we are. So if you're supportive of this, I mean, I'm supportive of it. I'm supportive of this because, again, I don't see who is losing in this situation. Other than the Ben Shapiro's out there having a fucking aneurysm about, look, but you cannot be biologically female. This kind of role in the human sexual dynamics is exclusively reserved for biological females. And then like their circuits fry and then steam comes from their heads. That's just amusing to no end. And yeah, this is like okay. Oh, so this is like the new Islam is right about women. So it's going to confuse people where if they assert one thing, then it contradicts another pre-existing belief that they were so adamantly supportive of. And furthermore, that this will cause people who I guess were in just previously were ardently supportive of the transgender movement / community or whatever the fuck you want to call it, will now look, okay, well, these incels, these nasty women-hating incels are infiltrating the transgender community by becoming transgenders. And I guess that will garner a different response, all kinds of different responses from the same group of people. But I think I can appreciate Mrs. or Miss Harrington's take whenever she wrote this article talking about how this is actually, all the political bullshit aside, this is another step towards transhumanism, cyborgs, cybernetics, whatever you want to call it. That whole dogma of people modifying their bodies at will for, I guess, to be more than human. So, I don't know. So anyway, anyone watching this, just let me know what you think. And I am very privy to engage in the conversation regarding that. So, yeah, that's about all the thoughts I have on that matter. Yeah. I guess, I guess I have one more thing for anyone who found me through TFM. So, Mr. Monkey has long talked about the value, or I guess the importance of male scarcity. And only within a society of limited, a less male population than female, do things, according to him, is when things kind of stabilize. That is a preferable state. Now, as we see, now we have another reason to tell young men to become women. And, of course, the majority of men will probably resist it because it's either too much work, they don't see the reward in it, or they just simply are happy being men, which, not my problem. I don't care. I'm not here to sissy hypno you into becoming a trans woman. But this, eventually, among other technical issues that I don't need to discuss right now, this is a step in the direction of artificially producing a greater population of women relative to men. And If you believe in the male scarcity theory, you should be happy about this. But you're probably not, because maybe you don't understand it. And I guess that's my job to talk about it further. But since no one's here to play devil's advocate and prove to me the cognitive process of someone who does not understand, indeed does not understand this process, then what can I say? I've laid down my opinion, and it's up to you what to make of it. Anyway, that was fun. So, since my co-hosts that do not exist have no other questions, I suppose I will move to the next topic. So, man, there's all kinds of news reports kind of giving a conflicting story. So, I don't know if anyone here is really hot on jet fighters or military technology, but for the third time, as far as I can recall, the F-35 Lightning has crashed into the water. And this time it was, as funny as it is, this time it was a man that crashed it. So this time we can't make any sexist but likely correct jokes about women pilots, right? So this time it's a man's crashing it. And I don't know, maybe I'm missing a few things, but I don't remember any jet fighter in history that had so many failures in a row. And the news reports will say that, okay, it was the pilot's fault. Now, this one is talking about how he tells the story and it shows a picture of him smiling. So that's probably painting like a positive light on him. Meanwhile, other news reports, like the headline, again, do not underestimate the engineering that goes into a journalistic headline. They kind of try to throw the pilot under the bus in order to protect the F-35 Lightning project or Lockheed Martin. So, I don't know. Maybe let's click on an article and get started before I start dropping the rest of my opinion on the matter. Quote, from the dailymail.co.uk, British news, the headline is, quote, I tried to slap on the brakes, that didn't work. I knew I was going off the ship, from Royal Navy pilot whose F-35 careened off the deck of HMS Queen Elizabeth and sank to the bottom of the Mediterranean, tells how he cheated death. So I'm guessing, okay, so when it says Royal Navy, I'm guessing British military? Okay, here, that's funny. This is getting interesting. Okay, so by Stuart Carr, here is the article that was published on the 23rd of this month. So the article reads, an F-35 jet pilot who has spoken of the shocking moment that he escaped from his plane moments before it plunged into the sea after failing to launch off of a Royal Navy aircraft carrier. The pilot, only known as Hux, was seated in the cockpit of the 120 million pound Lightning II when it malfunctioned on the runway of the UK's flagship HMS Queen Elizabeth. Mobile phone footage has captured the moment the aircraft sped towards the ship's, quote, ski jump ramp in November 2021. Hux managed to eject himself into the air seconds before the plane crashed into the Mediterranean Sea off of the coast of Egypt. An explosion can be seen as the video of the ejector seat detonates as the jet topples over the edge. Hux, who is based with the 617th Squadron Royal Air Force, suffered cuts to his neck among other injuries. Huck said, I tried for emergency power, that didn't work. When I tried to slap on the brakes, that didn't work either. So I kind of knew it was all going to roll off of the ship. It was told that it was at the point that his ejector seat, which he described to be as the fastest in the world, activated and catapulted him into the air. He described looking down at the sea below, his parachute opened, and then a second later I could see the flight deck of the ship starting to appear beneath me. Hux managed to descend down onto the carrier within just a few feet from his edge, had its edge. Had he missed, he would have risked being pulled under the ship, the Times reported. The mishap occurred during filming of a BBC documentary series, The Warship Tour of Duty, whose crew interviewed Hux on the HMS Queen Elizabeth shortly after the incident. The wreckage of the F-35 was then later recovered from the seabed under a mile underwater in a complicated mission involving Britain, Italy, and the U.S. A soldier was later arrested for releasing footage of the sensitive operation. 10 months after the crash, an investigation found that it was caused by a crew failing to remove a rain cover. The interim report of the Defense Safety Authority stated that a single engine intake blank was inside the engine intake as the plane took off, which blocked the airflow to the engine, hindering its attempt to take off. The cause was, quote, most likely caused by human, organizational, and procedural factors, the report concluded. HMS Queen Elizabeth was returning to Portsmouth following a 7-month maiden voyage to the Far East at the time of the crash. The BBC documentary also uncovers the ship's risky game of, quote, hide-and-seek with the Chinese Navy and its harassment by Russian aircraft during the tour. Filmmaker Chris Terrell praised the ship's company for their decisive response to the crash, adding, quote, an aircraft might have been lost, but there was a pilot, a shipmate, who had to be saved. Hux previously featured on a December 2020 promotional clip for defense company Lockheed Martin. Here's another clue, which manufactures the F-35s, before his first attempt at flying the jets across the Atlantic. He went on to describe the, quote, amazing experience. That's a good. That's some juicy information right there. The unknown sailor who captured the November 2021 incident held their phone against a computer screen to copy a CCTV recording from HMS Queen Elizabeth's control tower in the Mediterranean Sea. The grainy footage, which the Navy later confirmed was genuine, shows the F-35B Lightning II taxiing along the runway aboard the 3 billion pound aircraft carrier before toppling off the end and ditching into the water. The clip shows the jet appear to struggle to accelerate as it approaches the takeoff ramp. Crew on the flight deck then watch in horror as it plunges over the edge. So wait, hold on. The November 2021 incident against a computer screen and CCTV recording. Okay, so now the news article is throwing 3 different events into the article. So there's a November 2021 incident, and then Hux, whoever the fuck this guy is featuring in a promo clip marketing for Lockheed Martin. So there's your conflict of interest right there. And then the news article is trying to stitch these two together by leaving this picture here to kind of make you mentally skip over it and then confuse the two events. So, yeah. Okay, the film is of poor quality and not operationally sensitive, but its appearance on social media dismayed Navy bosses. A source said, quote, what is someone doing recording that on their phone and putting it out there for everyone to speculate about? There's a trust issue here. I don't know shit. Quote, the crash is a sensitive matter. Whoever is behind this has forgotten that. If that person is found, they'll be in deep trouble and will lose any security clearance that they have. Yeah, that sounds like an understatement. It sounds like a much more stern conversation than that is awaiting this so-called whistleblower. Overall, the UK has 24 F-35s, and this was the first major incident involving any. The cutting-edge warplane has stealth and intelligence-gathering capabilities, which can fly at supersonic speeds without being detected on radar. Russia has been paying close attention to Queen Elizabeth with a significant increase in aircraft activity nearby at the time. So the footage was shared by a defense commentator Seb Haggart, believed to be a former member of the Royal Navy who had posted the video on his Twitter page. Andy Netherwood, a former Royal Air Force pilot, said on Twitter that the leak itself would be a source of concern for the Royal Navy. He added, in the long term, that may have bigger ramifications than the F-35B accident itself. At the time, the sources told The Sun that the Royal Air Force pilot realized that the plane was malfunctioning and tried to abort takeoff, but was unable to stop the plane before the end of the ship's runway. They said that naval personnel realized the issue was, quote, almost right away, because rules around the removing covers and engine blanks before flights are, quote, incredibly strict. The video shows the jet slowly approach the end of the runway before it topples over and prompted concerns over whether the jet hit the aircraft carrier on the way down before it landed in the sea. Commander Tom Sharp, a former Royal Navy officer, told Sky News, quote, given how close the aircraft ditched to the bow and the speed of the ship on launch, the likelihood of it hitting the bow of the ship under the waterline would be quite high. Warship steel is not that thick, so even despite the weight discrepancy between the two, I would want the compartments near the bow checked immediately. I would then want the hull dived on at the first opportunity, just to be sure. The incident was the first mishap for the Royal Air Force's F-35B fleet and for the £3 billion aircraft carrier. The technology on board the U.S.-designed aircraft, including top-secret radar and sensors, is hugely sensitive as it allows the F-35 to fly, quote, unseen in hostile territory and supersonic speeds. Oh, sure. Royal Navy servicemen worked with the Americans to recover the F-35B Lightning II more than 1 mile below the surface. The operation, shrouded in secrecy, involved divers, miniature submarines, and inflatable bags to lift the plane to the surface of the Mediterranean. The U.S. was anxious that the jet's top-secret technology was not salvaged by Russia or any of its allies, as they would want to study the stealth technology closely to find a way of defeating the jet. The Lightning is described by the Royal Air Force as a fifth-generation aircraft capable of conducting air-to-surface strikes and electronic warfare. Just like a lot of fucking planes. The aircraft uses an array of sensors to operate undetected in enemy airspace. There were understood to be not only 8 British F-35s aboard HMS Queen Elizabeth, but also 10 U.S. aircraft. They have conducted over some 2,000 takeoffs and landings without incident. When not deployed on the carrier, the UK's F-35Bs are stationed at Royal Air Force Marham in Norfolk as part of 617 Squadron, the Dam Busters. So here's another little factoid with the fucking blue check mark, I'd imagine. Yeah, so $406 billion development cost. Lockheed Martin agreed to cap costs after U.S. President Donald Trump criticized the project and even tweeted support for a rival aircraft. Oh, man. Okay, yeah. So... Oh, okay, so there's more problems with this thing. Oh, jeez. Okay, actually, you know what? I'm going to read this whole thing. There's just more and more content. It just gets better. So, quote, the delivery of the Royal Air Force's new F-35B Lightning, okay, marked a rare moment in celebration in what has been a troubled project. Oh, no shit. The 5th-generation fighter aircraft is the world's most expensive weapon system, though costs have finally stabilized at a eye-watering $406 billion. Manufacturer Lockheed Martin agreed to cap costs after Donald Trump talked shit about it. Britain is currently embarked on a £9.1 billion program to purchase 48 of the F-35s from American Aviation Lockheed Martin by 2025. America enticed its NATO and other allies into sharing the cost of the aircraft by offering input into the manufacture, and 15% of each one is comprised of parts from British companies, while some of the jets will be made in Italy. Made in America, isn't it? So, but the planes have been plagued by a catalog of problems which have sent costs soaring. Oh, jeez. There are fears about shortcomings in the technical systems underpinning the new generation of warplanes that will leave them unable to function properly. The true cost of British planes delivered this year is estimated to be over £150 million to each to cover, quote, extras such as software upgrades and spare parts. There are also concerns the plane's software system is vulnerable to cyber attack and cannot be tested independently by the UK. The weak broadband on the Royal Navy's principal aircraft carrier, HMS Queen Elizabeth, is also hampering the jet's abilities. So, like, look at this. So, what it's trying to do is trying to replace the British Air Systems, British BAE Systems, British Aerospace Engineering Systems, Harrier, and also the F-18 or FA-18 Hornet from McConnell Douglas, a competing company. And it's kind of supposed to go against like the Sukhoi 2730-ish little planes that with the fold up wings to be stored and to be a carrier based aircraft. That's what it's formerly known as. So it's a bunch of features, it's a bunch of fluff. It's like, actually, I'll save it. I'll just finish reading this section here. The problems are not helped by the department responsible for the computer networks essential to the aircraft's operation needs to find savings of £400 million this year. The reports into the costs and the other problems prompted the Defense Select Committee to launch an inquiry into the project. It reprimanded the Ministry of Defense for keeping Parliament and the public in the dark about the costs. Man, you can see how fucking slimy this whole shit is. The MOD so far refused to provide the estimated cost to the UK of buying the F-35, beyond referring to a National Audit Office which caused the £9.1 billion figure. MP said it is simply not acceptable for the MOD to refuse to disclose to Parliament and the public its estimates for the total cost of the program. So yeah, I guess the writer is flexing all the tech features of the F-35. For example, like the 360-degree heads-up display, where no matter where the pilot looks, the pilot will see the heads-up display in his or in the last plane that crashed, her visor, and that's cool. But how essential is it to operating competently maintaining air superiority as a U.S. or NATO force? That's kind of dubitable at best, if you're asking me. I mean, other than that, this is just a standard touchscreen display for your instrument panel. And there are no mechanical instruments as a backup, in spite of people, I guess, the previous fears about, cyber warfare, disabling the computer systems on this lovely, well-designed aircraft, completely free of mechanical defects. Though the cost of the F-35 has been the focus of attention, there also have been embarrassing reports of operational shortcomings emerging from the United States. In a mock air battle in 2015, the cutting-edge plane was defeated by an older generation F-16, a plane designed in the 1970s. Oh my god. In 2020, Pentagon tests have found 276 different faults in the jet's combat system. They included the 25mm cannon vibrating excessively and problems with the aircraft's quote virtual reality helmet, no punctuation, overheating, premature wear of components in the vertical tails, and the vulnerability to fire, which I assume means internal fire, like a fuel leak combusting within the aircraft. The U.S. Air Force temporarily grounded dozens of F-35 stealth fighters while it investigated an oxygen supply issue. The Marine Corps, who also operate the same F-35B model that the UK has purchased, was forced to ground its planes after flaws were found in the computer system. And that's the end of the article. So, okay. Looking at the big picture, clearly what's going on is that nobody takes the American military seriously anymore, whether it's own people or people around it. And by proxy, no one takes NATO seriously anymore. And the American military and whatever shit sticks are running NATO are all deathly afraid of that. They are probably shitting their pants as we speak, because they see failure after failure after failure, laughing stock after laughing stock after laughing stock coming from the U.S. and by proxy NATO forces. So, for example, the F-22, also done by our friends at Lockheed Martin, a very large and very expensive jet fighter project. It won the Joint Strike Fighter contract. Let me see, JSF contract. So, long story short, what this is Joint Strike Fighter Program. So basically, long story short, there were many different companies who tried to come up with I believe a 4th generation fighter jet to win the money and publicity associated with becoming the United States flagship air superiority aircraft, air superiority jet fighter. And clearly, I guess in this case, they were looking for a replacement for the F-16. Now, because of Lockheed Martin winning that, and I'm sure they've got unbelievable amounts of money due to that, I think that they are getting lazy. And they're getting sloppy in their work, and they're doing a half-assed job when designing and doing quality control on the F-35. And that I believe is the root cause, among others, but again, root cause of all these hilarious reports of failure after failure that the F-35 has been experiencing. And then the news also tries to focus on a tertiary but additional factor causing these fuck ups, frankly. Like, for example, the crew failing to take off a tarp to cover the aircraft, or they forgot to take one of the intake plugs on the air intake of the, like right here. Yeah, and in case you didn't know, jet engines, you don't want birds or dirt or leaves or whatever accumulating in the intake area, because that's what the jet engine will suck in. So of course you put like a plastic or some other object to block it off. And I guess sometimes if you're in a hurry, that when you want to get the aircraft moving, then you don't really pay attention and forget to take out one. Okay, so there's 2 intakes on the aircraft, right? Sometimes if you just look at one side of the aircraft, you take out one, but then there's another there, and that will somewhat limit the amount of air going into the engine, so that the engine cannot. Basically, well, obviously, it's an impediment to its performance. Put shortly, and yeah. So Lockheed Martin, bad QC. Your product sucks. Sorry to break it to you. And meanwhile, there seems to be, whether it's because of the attitude or the attitude affecting the finances, or whatever reason, there's a lot of bureaucratic issues going on that obviously this news article is not going to report. So that's another grounds for suspicion. And furthermore, this Hux guy, this lovely fellow who I guess gracefully crashed the 3rd F-35, as far as I remember, he's probably getting his pockets lined with Lockheed Martin money. So yeah. So then, and you as my lovely viewer might be asking, okay, AVC, what would you do if you were in any of these positions? If I were the fighter pilot, I'd probably just do what he would be doing. I try to spin myself as the hero. If I were some military organization, whether it's the Royal Air Force, the American Marines, the American Air Force, what I would do is I would tell Lockheed Martin, your product sucks. The JSF is over. No more money for you. Go cry about it. And what I would do instead is I would take the American military budget and buy a bunch of Saab Gripen. Let's see, on carrier-based. I would buy a bunch of smaller, more maneuverable, more versatile, more reliable, more conventionally designed fighter aircraft. So It doesn't have to be this, because the two other similar aircraft are the Dassault Rafale, which is, I'll show you a picture of it. You know, similar design, right? Or the Eurofighter Typhoon. Now, why do I choose these aircraft? Okay, here's the man, look at that. Look how much shit you could load onto this thing. How many hard points is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe you could probably stick 2 more on the wingtips. 15, 16. 16 hard points. Look how much this thing is a freight truck. Look how much shit you can load onto it. The Rafale, maybe, I don't know. Let's see how much this thing can carry. So in this case, so yeah, these are obviously, well, they're a little bit smaller than the F-35. But okay, how many hard points does this thing have? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, 11, 12, 2 more on the wingtips. 12 hard points for the Rafale. What did I count? Like 17? 17 for the Eurofighter. The Saab Gripen. Let's see how many we can load on the Saab Gripen. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 10. So your pick. So if I were the whatever highest ranking Air Force General, Air Force or Marines or Royal Air Force General, and I had a budget to choose what kind of aircraft would best suit my men, my force, my military organization, I would choose either of these 3 over the dog shit that Lockheed Martin has offered us. Meanwhile, on the other hand, let's look at the F-22. F-22 payload. Weapons bay. Oh, okay, weapons capacity. So let's look at the F-22. It is a stealth fighter, yes. The stealth design is a compromise in the total payload. So what can you stick in here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably around 6 hard points. Is there external hard points? Okay, so like for example, a common loadout is you have 2 AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles, which are primarily air-to-air engagement, and then you have a weapons bay in the middle, right in front of the air intake, all because you wanted your fucking stealth design, which is okay, you know, cool. You know, stealth is cool, but planes still go meow. So, what difference does it make? So size comparison, look at that. Okay, oh, this is amazing. So here's the F-35, F-16, Typhoon, Rafale, F-18, F-22, F-15, Sukhoi 27, 30, and 33. This is like this is 32 or 34, which is like the air-to-ground version of the Sukhoi fighters. And here's the F-111. General, I guess, what is GD? General Dynamics? I don't know. It's been a while since I've nerded out on jet fighters. So why do I suggest these 3? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, so look at the length of the body. So American jet fighters, for some reason, are still sticking with like the conventional design where you have the elevators or the horizontal stabilizers behind the wing. This is the conventional design. Now, I guess it's just like the AR platform for, or I guess most guns that most small arms that the Western militaries have used, where they have the handle here, M4A1, where they have the handle of the weapon behind the magazine. Meanwhile, literally every other military around the world, they have switched to the bullpup design. So whether it's the Steyr AUG or the Fabrique Nationale P90 or the list of guns goes on. The Tavor 21. This design allows you to have a longer barrel and, on a weapon with much less space. And I have not really heard one good argument as to why the conventional design is any better. Where the non-bullpup design, whatever that might be called. So, it looks like the Europeans are doing the same thing with the jet fighters. They make the plane just basically one triangular shape, the one triangular wing, and then they put horizontal stabilizers in the front of the aircraft, and they're called canards, which means French for duck. This means you have a more compact aircraft that is much more maneuverable because again, it's just like the light. Look how short this thing is compared to the F-16. Compare that to the F-22. The F-22 is it's clearly there's a trend here. So these are these are international. It's a bit smaller than the F-15, so it's a bit more maneuverable. It's a cool looking plane, but then again, cool is what it established itself to be. So, and meanwhile now, okay, I guess as an afterthought, okay, now they thought, well, why don't we just add more hard points? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 hard points for the F-35, as you can see here. Now, I must ask you, so is this aircraft really going to be worth the money? So let's see, cost of jet fighters from around the world. So the F-35 is what is it offering? What is justifying that exorbitant cost that they just keep racking up on and on and on and on and on? So okay, here's some good data. So unit costs: the Dassault Rafale, 108 million; Eurofighter Typhoon, 272 million; Lockheed Martin, 70 million; Lockheed Martin F-16, 70 million; Boeing / General Dynamics FA-18, 53 million; Saab Gripen, 130 million. So what was the cost of the F-35? So F-35 Lightning II, not the first edition, the second edition. What is the cost here? So several countries have ordered, and the program's drawn much scrutiny and criticism for its unprecedented size, complexity, ballooning costs. This is hilarious. God, I can't even find how much this fucking thing costs. All right, F-35 cost per unit. So, okay. Oh well, I guess this is just kind of. Oh man. So okay, I've got to ask you. All right, so sure, maybe according to this quote unquote fact sheet, which sprinkle, don't just sprinkle a grain of salt. Dump the whole shaker on this shit. So right now here, I saw it in the corner of my eye. It said 110 million for the F-35A variant, 135 for the B variant, the vertical takeoff and landing variant, and 117.3 million per F-35C. Now, meanwhile, you can get a Gripen for way cheaper, and then you'll still have. So per unit, yes, the F-35 is about the same cost. But meanwhile, these Gripens, these Eurofighters, these Rafales, look how much shit you can load on there. Look how many hard points you can carry. Do you want to do a long range mission? Just load up some extra fuel tanks. Is that getting too heavy when you're knee deep into the mission? Drop the fuel tanks. You want to carry more missiles for air-to-air engagement? Load them up. If you want to do some bombing runs, load them up with bombs. If you want stealth, well, sure, these planes can't do stealth. What you can do is you can load radar jammer pods, ECM pods, electronic countermeasure pods. This will jam the radar of any enemy within, I guess, that could try to go within that area. It produces like this field of static that the radar cannot comprehend. It's arguably as good as stealth, and it's probably a lot fucking cheaper. You don't need to develop this clearly functional system of lightweight, bullpup, I guess, dare I say, canard in front, highly maneuverable, smaller, compact aircraft that are clearly carrier mobile. Let me see. Dassault Rafale carrier. These are carrier-borne aircraft. Look at that. Look how many of those you can stick on there. Aren't these things badass? This style of like smaller jet fighter is like the Thai girl. Is like you go to Thailand for sex tourism, right? And you got all these like really petite Asian girls who can like basically do flips in bed, and they can like drop down from the ceiling and just basically like spin on your dick. Like that's the kind of sex appeal that these jet fighters have. Meanwhile, the F-35 is like the average Western woman. She just demands more and more and more, and she just gets fatter and fatter. And the more you pump into her, the more you give her an inch, she takes a mile, and then eventually she just runs off with all your fucking money. Like the American military is just like the biggest simp for Lockheed Martin right now, and it's just kind of sad. Like look, I mean, bringing back to my original point, this is what I would have done. Like, look, how many $1 billion? Billions. Like, billions can buy how many Rafales, how many Eurofighters, and how many Gripens, and you can load them all on the carrier, load them up with whatever the fuck you want, or take it all off for a lighter aircraft. Clearly the American military doesn't know how to fucking handle its money, just like in the same vein as its own people that it's supposed to defend. So, what the fuck are they thinking? It's probably because Lockheed Martin is, again, part of the military industrial complex. They're in bed. They're sending all their prettiest HR ladies to go sleep with, I don't know, the Air Force officials to make sure that their business is secure for job security, while continuing to piggyback ever so comfortably off of the money that they won from the Joint Strike Fighter project, or Joint JSF contract. So, yeah. American Air Force, I don't know. You guys are stupid. I proposed this idea. I honestly, I don't even care if they listen. This is just me throwing it around. I guess I'm just saying this just to show the world how fucking smart I am. Apparently, I say that tongue in cheek because I know I'm stupid sometimes. But seriously, how is this not a better solution? Look at this. It's like a model airplane. It's like a Lego plane. You can plug and play all kinds of shit on there. Whatever the hell you want. This thing will carry it, and this thing will fucking send it there. Look at this thing. It's a mule. It's like those tiny pickup trucks where you just like, it's bigger on the inside. You just load more and more shit on it, and it just still keeps running. It just still keeps on trucking. Anyway, so once I get like the European aviation cock out of my mouth, yeah, that's all my thoughts on the matter. Let me know what you think. Let me know why you think that the clearly antiquated conventional design of jet fighters is somehow better than what the Europeans are making. And yeah. Ah, man. Fuck. Speaking about jet fighters, I guess we can watch this. We can watch a Fox News video talking about crews responding after Biden allegedly authorizing a $200 million fighter jet to shoot down a $12 science project. I think you guys know what we're talking about here, but I'll play the video.
But make no mistake, if any object presents a threat to the safety and security of the American people, I will take it down.
Tough talking President Biden finally addressing the American public on what the hell is going on in our skies. He tried to clear things up, but in true Biden fashion, only made them worse. The White House started the week floating the idea the Pentagon may have shot down UFOs or aliens, but now it could just be junk from private companies.
We don't yet know exactly what these three objects were, but nothing right now suggests they were related to China's spy balloon program or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country. The intelligence community's current assessment is that these three objects were most likely balloons tied to private companies. I want to be clear. We don't have any evidence that there has been a sudden increase in the number of objects in the sky. We're now just seeing more of them.
But it could be more ridiculous than that. A hobby club in Illinois thinks that one of its small balloons is, quote, missing in action, and they're worried Biden shot it down. If true, that means we just wasted $400,000 to take out a $12 balloon. And earlier this week, the geniuses at the White House suggested they were used to car lot balloons. And after reacting incredibly slowly, the president pretended that he's been on top of the situation since the beginning.
When I came into office, I instructed our intelligence community to take a broad look at the phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects.
Okay, the president made it clear today in his presser, 3 weeks after they say they knew that spy craft flew over the Aleutians, that the 3 balloons are innocuous. They're either recreational or they may be testing the weather, and they shoot them down to the tune of $1.2 million. The one that they knew was a Chinese spy craft, they allowed it to kind of hover over our sensitive missile sites, and they didn't shoot it down until after it did its mission. So what is our policy? If we don't know what it is, we shoot it down. And if we know it's China, we let it do its work and then shoot it down.
Right. So if you're a hobbyist, you better watch out. But if you're China spying on us, you can go all the way to South Carolina. This is the Bottleneck Balloon Brigade, Janine, out of northern Illinois. A few fathers and sons get together on the weekends, and this is what they do. They buy a $12 balloon, and when you go to a birthday party, those canisters of helium? They get a canister, and they inflate the balloon the size of maybe 2 Greg Gutfelds, and then they put a little device for tracking on it, twist it, and then they let it fly. And then they go on their phones, and then they see a little red dot, and then they follow the red dot around and see where it goes. They're literally seeing where the wind blows, Janine. But to Biden, these people are kamikazes, and he will not rest until every father-son hobby balloon outfit from northern Illinois,
Jesse.
He will not rest until they're all shot out of the sky. So he spent $400,000 on a missile to kill a $12 balloon. But if you're China, fly all you want, but he claims, Judge, that they didn't get anything. Now, how long have we been claiming the Chinese didn't see anything? Every time the Chinese do anything, we claim, whether it's Hunter, Swalwell, whether it's Diane in California, that they didn't get anything. Yet China continues to grow from all of our technology. It's just a coincidence that everything they steal winds up back in Beijing at half price. And do you believe also that Joe Biden, his first act as commander-in-chief, gathered the generals around the situation?
Oh, of course.
Gentlemen, I want our first mission to be not a single balloon will enter American airspace until we know exactly what it is. He had no idea. Joe Biden, he's not even known as a UFO guy. He's not even known as an Air Force guy. That never happened.
So you were suggesting that he was not telling the truth?
I'm suggesting whoever wrote that for him isn't telling the truth.
He could have been prescient. He could have known that this was going to happen.
It would be the first time.
Okay, so why is no one taking credit for these 3 balloons other than the hobby company or the club? And
the brigade.
How is it that Joe Biden is so sure, Jessica, that quote, he says that nothing suggests that those balloons are from China when we haven't even retrieved those 3 balloons yet? Why is he so sure?
I assume someone told him. He wasn't on the ground.
China?
No, I don't think Xi Jinping called him up and said, you've been shooting down toy balloons and don't worry, they're not ours. I assume someone who wears a uniform has told him that that's the case. And it is relieving on one hand to
Sorry about that. So yeah, if you can watch the whole video, I mean, I don't know, you see the URL. It's right there. Anyway, yeah. Okay, so I first thought, okay, well, I didn't read that correctly. So $200 billion fighter jet, F-22 Raptor, or excuse me, F-22A balloon popper, to use a $400,000 missile, which upon my further investigation, I guess seems to check out, to shoot down basically completely harmless balloons is, yeah, that's the American military now. So once again, so the F-22 has long established itself as the cool. Ace Combat covers. For example, one of my favorite video games from childhood, Ace Combat, arcade half-assed flight simulator, arcade aerial combat simulator. So what is it? Ace Combat Distant Thunder. There's Ace Combat. I think Ace Combat 3 had the MiG-29 on it. So Ace Combat 4, Ace Combat 6, no. Ace Combat... Oh, I guess I take that back. What the hell's this? Oh, that looks like a censored version of it. Interesting. Is this... Oh, this is the European version because it's got a PEGI one. That's funny. Yeah, that's weird. Look at that. Oh, man. Anyway, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I really love this game. Anyway, there's a lot of video games. There's a lot of culture, a lot of pop culture that is oriented around the Lockheed Martin F-22 balloon popper. So, Lockheed Martin probably doesn't want to lose that kind of mojo. They don't want to lose that kind of publicity in people's minds. So, the F-22 has long been a huge symbol of American military dominance. It is the cool, dominant, kind of the same thing in a lot of instances, right? So, if they lose that, that's part of the equation of the U.S. military losing face. So, once again, the American military is deathly afraid of the fact that people aren't taking them seriously anymore. In the meanwhile, at the citizen level, as Fox News is either because they truly believe it or they're just saying that to appeal to their crowd, the people that watch them on the boob tube, is that they want to blame it on China. They want to scapegoat all of American failure, whether at the private, at the... not private, whether at the civilian or the government level. And of course, we want to scapegoat American business before we scapegoat the American government or the people, to divert from the fact that America is failing. The American empire, the American dominance, American hegemony is falling apart. So, of course, and whenever people are whenever a proud failure is on his last legs, he's looking for other people to blame, to help people ignore the fact that he is losing his spot on the throne. So, yeah, simple as that, as far as I understand. Anyway, yeah, that was nice. It was nice to get that off my chest. Any questions, comments, concerns, last minute thoughts? Oh, right, no one's in my fucking show. Ha ha ha. AVC, you're so funny. All right, next topic. Ford suspends electric F-150 Lightning production after another week following battery fire. So apparently there's, again, quality control. We're learning a lesson from Lockheed Martin. Now we're seeing Ford kind of making the same mistake, but for a completely sort of different reason. And it kind of revolves, I suspect it is a highly politically motivated issue. But in any case, let me read this article by this fine gentleman named Michael Wayland. The key points of this article. Ford is suspending production of his electric F-150 Lightning pickup for another week following a battery issue that resulted in one of the vehicles catching fire. Ford last week said its expected vehicle assembly is to be down at least through this week, as engineers determined that the root cause of the issue and implemented changes to production. So in Detroit, Michigan, here's an interesting subtitle. Ford CEO Jim Farley announces at a press conference that Ford Motor Company will be partnering with the world's largest battery company, a China-based company called Contemporary Amperex Technology, to create an electric vehicle battery plant in Marshall, Michigan, on February 13th, 2023, in Romulus, Michigan. So I guess they're trying to bring the Motor City back, I see. All right, on to the article. Detroit. Ford Motor is suspending production of its electric F-150 Lightning pickup for another week following a battery issue that resulted in one of the vehicles catching fire earlier this month. So Ford said on Friday its battery supplier, SK, has started building battery cells again at a plant in Georgia but will take more time to, quote, ensure that they are back to building high-quality cells and delivering them to the Lightning production line. The teams worked quickly to identify the root cause of the issue, Ford said in a statement Friday. We agree with SK's recommended changes in their equipment and processes for SK's cell production lines. Ford said last week that it expected Lightning production to be down through at this week as engineers determined the root cause of the battery issue and implemented improvements to the manufacturing process. The fire occurred February 4 in a holding lot during a pre-delivery QC check. And while the vehicle was charging, followed by Ford suspending production and issuing a stop shipment of vehicles to dealers. Ford said engineers determined that there was no evidence of a charging fault. So Ford said it was not aware of any incidents of the issue in vehicles that have already been delivered to customers and dealers. The F-150 Lightning is being closely watched by investors as it's the first mainstream electric pickup truck on the market and a major launch for Ford. The battery issue adds to an ongoing, quote, adds to ongoing, plural, execution issues detailed to investors earlier this month by Ford CEO Jim Farley that crippled the automaker's fourth quarter earnings. Blah, blah, blah. Similar thing going on. So, except this time, I guess Ford had the decency to not throw whoever was doing the QC checks under the bus. Well, I guess they're partnering with him, kind of like how Lockheed Martin did with that pilot, that British pilot, that like Hux, and that guy's name, how he crashed their shit. So, what I think is going on here is, again, people, organizations make mistakes whenever they try to make work too quickly. Why are they working quickly? Well, whenever human behavior doesn't make sense, follow the money. Where is the money coming from? Well, why are they engaging in electric vehicles, electric pickup trucks, God forbid? So, people who like pickup trucks, there's two groups. There's people who use pickup trucks for the pickup intention, and other people just buy it to flex. It is a flexmobile. It is a pathetic display of the perception of big finances and small penises, right? Clearly, this vehicle intends to be very stylish in very typical EV car fashion with a pseudo grille and a very large, like, kind of like a, I don't know what this is inspired by, like RoboCop, something like RoboCop or like Cyclops from Marvel. That kind of look, because it's like super high tech, it's all futuristic, and it's like a yuppie car, right? Like Tesla. The Tesla has become the new Prius in terms of like car culture. So the image of the vehicle itself might be even more important than the contents of it. And moreover, again, I've said this a million times, and I will say it a million more from all the way to my grave. Do not underestimate the power of ESG money, environment and social governance incentives. So Ford was looking at Tesla and saw that, okay, well, how did Tesla go from just the Tesla Roadster, which no one gave a fuck about, to the long array of basically an armada of different Tesla cars? Well, ESG money. That's what got Tesla off ground. And yes, that means Elon Musk started out as a welfare whore, corporate welfare. But he managed to be instead of what corporate welfare typically does to companies, meaning that it removes their ability to do business competently and produce a product worth of shit. Elon Musk and Tesla made something useful out of it and continued to, basically, for the most part, the government got their money's worth and then some. So Ford is trying to do that half-assedly with this F-150 Lightning thing. Now, what doesn't make sense to me is that only rich suburbanites are going to get this vehicle, and probably as a tax write-off. Because I guess not only in the United States, but probably also Europe as well, there are a lot of tax incentives. Oh, actually, in Europe, I think that they are going to create. No, they're not just going to give you tax incentives. They're going to restrict you to EVs only, starting 2023, 2025 ish. That's the EU. Well, we're already 2023, so 2025, I'm sure. I don't know. In the future, that's the regulation coming down the pipeline, because it's Europe. We're like that. Anyway, so the truck crowd clearly doesn't. They're all about in the U.S. especially. They're all about their big pickup trucks, and there's people who modify diesel trucks to spew out black smoke everywhere as a political statement against this. And of course, they're not going to be privy to this electric vehicle design, electric pickup truck especially. So, as you can see, this particular model has 4 doors. Four doors is what you do to carry family, not to carry stuff. And so it's not probably not too popular, not going to be too popular. And as a work truck, like, what is Ford doing this for? Well, follow the money. So ESG money. That's how fucking big it is. I guess I can't really be bothered to. Well, even if we do find it, it's questionable whether or not they're going to be honest about the total development cost to revive the F-150 Lightning as an electric vehicle. So let's, okay. Never mind, I changed my mind. F-150 Lightning. Oh, shit. There goes my pencil. So this is the old F-150 Lightning. It's like a sports version of the F-150 at the time. I guess it didn't do too well because who buys a pickup truck as a sports car? That doesn't make any sense. So now what they did is they're getting lazy, they're getting uncreative with their, oh, it looks like there's, oh wait, really? Oh, so there's people making like fake lightnings, like mock-ups or remixes. Anyway, so Ford is recycling old names from vehicles from the past. For example, like the Maverick. The Maverick used to be in, I think, Australia exclusive, a small subcompact car, like a family car. Where is it? Damn it. Oh, I take that back. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. That's interesting. It's like a... Oh, so it's like a mini Bronco. I don't know. As you can tell, I'm not a Ford expert. I better just shut the fuck up. Oh. What's this? Ford Mavericks. Is it a sports car? I guess there's all kinds of Ford Mavericks apparently. So there's this other Ford Maverick, which is a two-door small sports car. That looks awfully like a Camaro kind of. I don't know. Classic American muscle cars aren't exactly my thing. Sorry. Anyway, so Ford's recycling names. They're getting crafty because Ford, just like any other business, responds to only two stimuli, pain and pleasure. What are these two stimuli governed by? Making money, or losing money and making money. So, yeah, that's just it's the ESG money's world, and we're just living in it. And that's life and times in the West as we speak. So, yeah. No. Anyway, so sponsors today. I guess I guess maybe I'll sponsor myself. Today's sponsor is yours truly. I'm still looking for AI systems. I'm trying to get VA-Synth going to load. I don't think they have any packages for Makima from Chainsaw Man, but once again, I'm looking for a AI engine to where I can give it a long string of, or maybe some samples of audio of a particular voice or character, say from like a TV show. And I want the AI to generate a voice where it could read strings of text. And that would be really cool. And I will let you, my loyal fans, to do as you wish once that thing gets moving. And in the meantime, yeah, that's all I'm looking for. And that's about all I can think of. Today's a short show. I didn't have any co-hosts, so it wasn't as engaging. But in any case, thank you for stopping by, and I might see you next week. Ciao, ciao.